Everything needed to feel natural. Kathryn's got a really deep bullshit detector. I mean, the style that Kathryn shoots in and what she's attracted to is very much what Barry is an expert in, which is, it sort of feels like war correspondence. The actors don't quite know what size frame they're on.
Did you get off?
You should go.
Me?
Yes, just in case.
Come on, that's not how this works.
And he doesn't know exactly what they're going to do because it's not blocked and it's not rehearsed. So they're reacting to the situation they're in and memorizing what the words were, but it's very much a responsive thing. And he's reacting to what they're doing, and I'm reacting to what Barry's done. And so it does sort of feel found, not created.
You're editing the best shot documentary of a situation in the sense of like...
Very much so. I mean, the multiple camera thing kind of allows you, when appropriate, to keep things very fluid and honest, so it's not jump cutting. It's not an impression. It's more, like this is happening in real time. That's what we were after. It's like, this is going down in real time. I would lean into, how Barry shot and what he followed, which in some ways were almost, like edits within themselves, because if he would do a lot of camera moves and a lot of pans and a lot of following actors' eye lines that throw you to something, and I would try to utilize all of that so it sort of just felt so real, so stumbled upon.
There's also a choice that Kathryn is making, which is in the middle of this intense 18 minutes, getting a sense of the personal, getting a sense of who these people are.
I mean, that's really the selecting process of finding it, but there's not a lot of backstory in all of the characters. They're just presenting themselves, and the backstory is that the color of that person, or that character, of how they react to the situation that they're in, of how it stops them and floors them. So a lot of the time I would be seeking out what I sort of call the best of everybody's frozen moments, when that sort of kinetic energy of the doing, the tasking of it all stops and they're stunned.
Object remains inbound.
There's a lot of young people that work like at Greeley, and there's a rehearsal to what they do over and over and over again. And now they're put into a real life scenario where they know what the stakes are, and that human thing bubbles to the surface of, holy shit. And there's so many faces that are in Greeley that I can respond to, and the same thing in the Situation Room. The PEOC as well, there's lots of things to bounce around, but the movie in its scope sort of shrinks as it moves along, and you collect voices as you go along. So what reaches the president gets denser and denser and denser, but I've got less faces to go to.
I'm here.
What do you make of all this?
I really don't know.
You don't know?
You're running the fucking Pentagon.
When I read it, I knew the whole thing was just, cake for an editor, because it was frightening to read as a story, and I knew that it would be really complicated. When you hear the president's voice in chapter 1, and then when I finally get around to editing him in chapter 3, and it's a different on-camera performance, then I'm going to take that performance and I'm going to put it back into this one, and that made that a bit longer. So all of that push and pull occurred.
This is insanity, okay?
No, sir. This is reality.
I mean, it's got also to do with the fact that the movie is shrinking, and that we had much more of a kinetic pace before, and because the amount of people have come down, it's more solid and more steady, and it's these final things. One of my favorite shots in the whole thing is with Secretary Baker, when he's listening to the countdown, but instead of going to 12 different reactions of all just melting down on screen, we got the one. And the first time Kathryn and I, we went through the sort of 25 choices we've got for him in that situation, we got down to the one that we were just in love with, of watching him. And it held, you could just sit on him for the entire 10, 9, 8. It took me until a few months later to have the courage to sort of cover up his performance with this cutaway shot of a painting that gave that impression of history as watching, and it allowed me to use the perfect section of him, because I now only need half the amount of time, where his face doesn't move at all, until the bad news comes, and then it's just that minuscule little response.
Negative. What did he say? What did he say? Negative.
She has a lot of confidence in Paul. She always has a lot of glee when sound's coming, and she talks about sound as Paul. Paul and sound they're the same words. We had a lot more score than what we would normally do, like what she would normally do.
Got a family?
Have a wife, sir?
There was an early conversation when I met Kathryn on set, and she popped out of this trailer and said, "Kirk, what do you think of score? Do you like working with score?" And I was like, "I love it." And she went, "I hate it." And that was like one of our first sort of chats in person. I was like, "Oh." The first countdown worked great in silence. That feeling of when, the Situation Room in Greeley, we're all waiting to see if they blew it out of the sky, and it had this feeling like there was no oxygen left, and it was in the dialogue tracks, that one phone that's ringing and no one's answering it. That sort of sound was just so frightening to me that it didn't need anything underneath it. And it wasn't until you have Rebecca Ferguson's response to it missing does music come.
It's negative.
It plays a very important role at the end because it feels that you need the emotion of score to a certain degree to give it some kind of resolve.
Yeah,
right?
and I knew that we were missing something, and Volker solved it. I had music that was a ramp for the end of chapter 1. It works its way up, and then you don't get the answer. Same thing repeats at the end of 2, and then it was the exact same music track for the end of 3, and doing it 3 times in a row was, emotionally, there was no growth.
Right.
And he instinctually knew that the third time was not about thriller. The third time was about loss and devastation, and it was a human reaction. So there was less adrenaline in his score. There was isolation.